Okay, hi everybody. So we are talking about something a little different today. We haven't done a tea time in a minute, mostly because I just haven't felt compelled to talk about any particular person or thing. But oh boy, did that change. If you are a person who follows like YouTube drama and stuff like that, and you watch enough YouTube to be involved in like the community or whatever, then this will probably be interesting to you. If you don't and you have no idea what I'm talking about, this video might not be for you, and that's fine. But we are talking about Trisha Paytas today and Tana Mongeau to a lesser extent, but we're talking about both of them because they're both behaving in ways that are real fucking problematic right now. I want to be really clear from the get-go that I'm not talking about this in a way to like label anybody as a bad person. My like social work background is very much steeped in the idea that all people are worthy of love and belonging, even if we behave in ways that are awful or really damaging or problematic or what have you. So if you are like sort of, like I said, involved with this stuff, you'll probably know to some extent what's going on. Basically, the situation is that Trisha Paytas uploaded a video called Meet My Alters, I Have Dissociative Identity Disorder. If you don't know what DID is, it used to be known as multiple personality disorder. It's a very hotly debated diagnosis, even within the mental health community. A lot of people don't believe that DID is a real thing. It fucking is. It's a real diagnosis, and there's actually MRI scans and like research that's been done on the brains of people with DID diagnoses that shows that their brains work in ways that are very different from someone without DID. So we see their brain, like the areas of their brain light up in a very different way on an MRI than we do for somebody without DID. So it's not something that's like made up or that people are doing for attention or that people are trying to manipulate other people by saying that they have multiple personalities. Like that's not this. DID is a very real, very valid mental illness. And again, I want to be really clear. I don't have any formal training in treating or diagnosing dissociative identity disorder or DID. I have very limited knowledge about DID as a diagnosis and a condition. Obviously, I was taught about dissociation and like the general effects of trauma and things like that, but I am in no way an expert on DID. So yeah, the basic situation here is that Trisha Paytas uploaded a video called Meet My Alters, I Have Dissociative Identity Disorder, and like, this is such an issue. First of all, because she talks about how she's self-diagnosed. She hasn't seen a mental health professional. She has no indicator from anybody other than herself that she has DID. And it's not that people can't somewhat accurately self-diagnose with certain conditions, but it's really not recommended because self-diagnosing with like anxiety, for example, or depression is very different than diagnosing yourself with something like DID, because first of all, DID is very misunderstood. There are a lot of people who have no idea what the disorder actually entails and whose only understanding of the disorder is from movies like Sybil and Split, which is a grossly inaccurate representation of the actual disorder, which it seems like that's kind of Trisha's understanding because all of the things that she says in her video are not factual information. They don't make any sense. They're not consistent with DID symptoms or presentation or diagnosis or diagnostic criteria. The other fucking issue with Trisha Paytas talking about this is that her video grossly misrepresents what the disorder actually looks like and what it actually is. She talks about how her first alter was formed when she went to London and she started speaking with an accent. And like, that's not DID. She also talks about how when she's with different people, she changes her personality and she becomes like a different person. And like, that's not what DID is either. She also talks about how she has DID and not multiple personality disorder because she dissociates but doesn't have multiple personalities. But she does have multiple personalities, but then she also doesn't dissociate. And like, first of all, those are the same thing. Multiple personality disorder was just renamed DID in like the 90s. So like, this is not new information either. Like, this has been that way for like almost 30 years. So like, to refer to the two diagnoses as if they're separate, again, is just a good indicator that she is not up to date on like the accurate and factual information about the disorder. But the thing that's really problematic about this is that there is a huge community of people, especially online, who do actually have DID and who have been advocating for people to destigmatize the diagnosis, to normalize it, and to make it less of a shameful diagnosis, and for people to also take it seriously, because so many people think that it's fucking made up, and it's not. And so there are a lot of people who are being really vulnerable on the internet. Dissocia Did is one of them. Her channel was kind of directly involved with this Trisha Paytas situation. Trisha Paytas called her crazy in her video. Dissocia Did has a lot of educational content on her channel that is really, again, advocating for destigmatizing the diagnosis and normalizing the experience of people who have DID, and just putting it out there that, like, this is not something that's made up. It's not something that only exists in movies, and like, they are real ass people who have real feelings and real lives and are really, truly, honest to God, affected by the public's perception of DID. And so the thing that's frustrating about this is that Trisha Paytas, because she has a huge platform, in a matter of 24 to 48 hours, basically walked back all of the progress that those people have made. Trisha Paytas just fucking undid all of that, because she either is so misinformed that she grossly misrepresented the diagnosis, or because she thought she was trying to be funny to talk about it, or again, because she, I don't know, is truly convinced that she has DID but can't be bothered to get professional help. Because let's be honest, Trisha Paytas has more than enough money and more than enough privilege to get professional help. There is no barrier, there's no systemic issues that would prevent her from seeking professional help. She chose not to. And so even if she really does think that she has DID, by not seeking professional help and utilizing the resources that are available to her, she really hurt an entire community of people. And again, this is problematic, because these, you know, these are real people's lives, and it's not a game for those people. It's not a joke. It's not funny. This is not something that will go away in a couple of months for them. Dissocia Did made a video talking about how she actually experienced a split in her system, and so now she has another alter that resulted from this situation. And so, like, this is what I'm talking about, where these are real people's fucking lives. And so even if Trisha Paytas comes back from this scandal and you know, her channel is fine and she still has fans 2 or 3 months from now after she's done addressing this in the same way that she claimed that she was trans and then just never addressed it ever again, great, good for her, but the damage that she has created will continue to exist long after the internet forgets about this. And that's why this is important to talk about. The other person that we're going to talk about today is Tana Mongeau, because she is in trouble again. If you don't know anything about Tana Mongeau, she's very young, like very energetic person on YouTube. Her whole brand is just kind of being like this fly by the seat of your pants, like kind of a hot mess type of person. She has a TV show on MTV that basically the whole premise is like following her misadventures in life and just kind of following her around as she does like weird Tana Mongeau shit. Whatever. I don't really care if she makes money off of just like being herself on TV, like great, good for her. But there was an episode released where she talked about, in this really serious tone, and like clearly it was not meant to be a joke or anything, but she talked about having PTSD from being a kid and her parents not being able to afford going to the doctor. And so they would not believe her and didn't want to take her because every time they would go, they'd have to switch to a new doctor because they couldn't afford to pay the bills from the old one. And it was like this very traumatic sounding thing. And then, you know, because the internet is the internet, people looked through her channel and realized that she uploaded a video a year ago doing that YouTuber trend of like going to the lowest rated X in my city. And so she did, I went to the lowest rated hospital in LA. And this video is of her like in the hospital, living her best life. She seems totally fine. She does not seem to have any issue going to the hospital at all. She seems incredibly calm and energetic and like excited even. The reason I take issue with this is because she presented it in a way as if she really did have a diagnosis for post-traumatic stress disorder, and then come to find out clearly that doesn't seem to be the case. If it is, you know, there seems to be some inconsistencies there. And again, this is kind of the issue with like trivializing a very serious diagnosis, that if she self-diagnosed this and really does think that she has PTSD, she's grossly misinformed and misrepresenting the condition, because PTSD is a very difficult diagnosis to live with. The symptomology is very severe and it can impact almost every facet of a person's life. And so for her to get on TV and give this message to all of these teenagers and young people watching her channel, and again, irresponsibly using her platform to sort of throw that word around in a way that makes it seem like it's, you know, she again is like trivializing a very serious diagnosis, that there is a whole community of people who are really struggling with the way that their lives have changed because of the trauma that they've endured. And for a YouTuber and a person with a TV show to talk about this in a way that trivializes the real struggles that people are continually living with is frustrating and, again, problematic. And so I wanted to talk about this, not because I'm interested in participating in like the cancel culture thing and like none of that. I just want to talk about this because I want to encourage you guys to be better than that, because I think this is a great learning opportunity for all of us to check the language that we use on a day-to-day basis and to make sure that we are holding ourselves to a higher standard than that. Not that that's very hard to do, but again, I wanted to encourage you guys because language is very powerful. And so when we joke about like, oh, I'm so OCD, I have to have my pencil case organized. Like, no, that's not OCD. That's not what that means. OCD is a crippling diagnosis for so many people, and it's actually a very underrepresented and underserved community. So you joking about how you need to have all your pencils in a row is so OCD is not funny. It's actually really hurtful. And again, language is very powerful. And so when we trivialize real diagnoses and real struggles that people have, you may not mean it in a way that's malicious, but it can still have very damaging effects on people. And like, again, real ass people's lives. So yeah, like I said, I just want to encourage you guys to be mindful of the language that you're using and to make an effort to not be that, because mental health is a very important part of people's lives. And so the way that we talk about it, again, affects people very deeply. And so, yeah, I know that this seems kind of heavy, and I hope this didn't come off too heavy-handed, again, because I don't want to label anybody as a bad person, but it is important, especially in my opinion, as like a mental health professional and a social worker, for me to call out problematic behavior. Because again, you know, like Trisha Paytas will probably come back from this scandal. She's come back from many. I don't anticipate that Tana Mongeau's paychecks are going to stop showing up. But the harm of those actions is far-reaching and will continue to have ripple effects long after they've forgotten about this. Yeah, I hope that this made sense. But if you like the video, like the video. If you want to see more stuff like this, subscribe to the channel and share the video to help the channel grow and to help each other grow. And I will talk to you soon. Okay, bye.